Welcome back, everyone, to another episode with On the Road with Pokerlistings by Jason Glatzer. I was at the Coolbet Open with my co-partner Arvid, covering the Coolbet Open main event and paying attention to what was happening, the ambiance and the side events and all the wonderful activities. And we are on the final day. It's only the Turbo main right now, and I got the time from someone special, the Coolbet Poker Manager, also the festival organizer, Thomas Hviid. Welcome, Thomas, to the show.
Thank you.
And I apologize right away for butchering your name. It's a Danish name that I had trouble with. I even tried practicing a little bit, but that didn't come out as well as I was planning.
You have to practice harder, Jason.
Okay, that'll be for the next podcast, right. Whenever the next Coolbet Open will be, which will be in the autumn, not so far away now. Mm-hmm. But it was a fantastic event from my standpoint, from all the players that I spoke to. Not only was the main event well structured, giving players lots of sleep, but there were tons of side events and tons of ways for players to catch up with each other. There were a lot of local groups that came out, and they wound up interacting with themselves, but also with each other. And the atmosphere was tremendous. But how are you feeling now, the day after all the big events are in the books?
Besides pretty tired, then I also feel very happy. I think it went really, really well. Maybe better than I expected on beforehand. Now we've had like a more than 2-year break. So it was a bit, unsure how it would, first of all, how many people would come. Second of all, how everything would be like from an organizational point of view, because we have to get into this rhythm again, and there's some things that have changed, some people that have changed, and also the atmosphere. That was like, how would people feel being back? Would they go totally bananas, or would it be like it was back in those days? But I think atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. People were so happy to be back and playing some poker. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was just really like old times for me. Nobody was really going at it harder than they normally would at a Coolbet Open. You know, they were going at it in an enjoyable fashion, not trying to get 5 Coolbet Opens into one, and enjoying the moments at the Coolbet Open as they happened. Whether they were winning or losing, it seemed like everybody was just having a blast. Just being around each other, and there were rails for different players, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people were very happy to see each other. Maybe they have met a couple of times before, after Corona, but I know there were many who hadn't seen each other for years, and that was very special to come back again after such a long break. So.
And as far as numbers go, the numbers were really good. For those of you that might think that they were online packages that were saved up for 2.5 years, that wasn't really the case, because Coolbet opened up an online passport to some degree, where players that won packages could choose packages to the Norwegian Championships and other events as well. And also, Coolbet was kind enough to give refunds when players asked as well, with the uncertainty of when the next Coolbet Open was going to be. So with all that in mind, having 648 main event entries with only 2 opening fights, to me is a tremendous number. It's just a little bit off the record of 686 entries. That the record main event that At Carly Tume won back in November 2019. Were these the kind of numbers that you were looking at, or did you think it was going to be a little bit smaller?
I was definitely expecting it to be smaller. Usually our spring event is smaller than the autumn event, mostly because most of the Norwegian players, they go to Norwegian Championships in the beginning of April, and they normally don't go 2 events so close to each other, so they prefer to go to the autumn event. So we were kind of expecting that this event would be a bit smaller. I was expecting around 400 unique players, which we beat by 30, 40 players or something like this. So that was great. This was for the main event only. And side events, that was, then it was really fantastic. We more than expected in the side events. That was maybe the highlight of this one. So.
I remember the day that I arrived was when the first big side event was happening, and I almost hopped into play, but I knew that I was going to have a busy day the next day, so I opted to stay on the sidelines. But that was normally held on the casino floor. It was the 220 Warmup I think it was called something else actually, but it is essentially the warm up to the festival, and that awarded not only the prize pool but also a main event seat to the winner. And typically that kind of tournament gets 80, 90 runners down on the casino floor. Sometimes it peaks over 100. But you moved it to the main tournament arena, which was set up a day earlier than normal. And I don't remember what the final numbers were, but it was close to 200 entries alone. Exactly. Just for that one. And I'm like, okay, this is a very good sign. Players are already here even before the main event, because I wasn't expecting some of the Finnish players until later the week because they had a holiday on Thursday. So it just was people everywhere all the time.
Yeah, it seemed a bit like people were coming a bit earlier for our event. Usually they come on Wednesday when the main event starts, but this time we actually had a lot of people already here from Monday, and then many came also on Tuesday. That I also noticed. So I don't know if there was any special reason for it. Maybe they were just looking so much forward to coming back here, or they could take a bit longer holiday, or whatever. But yeah, that was certainly nice to see.
Yeah, Estonia for sure is underrated this time of year. I don't think people understand how nice the weather is during the spring and summer months, and even the autumn months in Estonia, where the sun stays out quite late. You could barely notice it going down. Even if it rains, it seems to just clear up pretty quickly. At least it did yesterday for the unique poker and golf event that was hosted by Joel and Pierre. And I spoke to Joel a little bit about that event, so it's a nice segue into this conversation. But that's something unique. So you combined poker and golf into the same side event, and I peeked up at the poker portion of it, and players were having it was like just playing with your buddies, at the poker table, even though they were playing for a nice prize. And I heard that the golf, that it was raining when they got there, but by the time they teed off, the sun was shining and birds were singing and they were ready to go. What was your feedback about that, and how did that all come about?
It's an idea actually from our Finnish team. They have been having an event for some years where they play golf and poker. Then also our team in Iceland also were doing the same, and I attended both of their events, and I absolutely loved it. It was super fun. I'm a pretty okay golf player, so I love playing any kind of golf, and then combining with poker, it's like paradise. It's great, and I heard also the feedback from some of the players we had in Finland and Iceland that it was maybe one of the best days they've ever had on during the summer. Like they really had a lot of fun. So this time our May event is a bit later in May, so then it was actually possible to combine it with some golf. Like if you have it in the autumn, in October, November, you don't want to play golf here at that time.
Maybe it's some billiards and poker. Another thing that poker players like are darts, billiards, and poker.
That you could also do, yeah. You can actually do many fun combinations with poker. So the players, they first played golf in the morning, one full round here at the Estonian Golf and Country Club. It's a very nice course. I play there regularly as well. And then based on their score in golf, then they got a certain amount of chips in the poker. So they're kind of playing a poker tournament with some handicap. Then they played a poker tournament that lasted almost 7 hours, which was pretty long. I think for many of them it was maybe the first time they ever played a poker tournament.
Oh wow, I didn't know that part.
So that was quite exciting. But yeah, those who were at the final table, they knew what to do. It was not their first time playing poker.
So these kind of ideas are good introductions to people in the game. It could be like a pretty good grassroots effort. And, there's so many grassroots campaigns, which I support most of them. This could be another one, Yeah. I know at my uncle's golf club, this is back in Connecticut. So, he, when I'm home, once in a while invites me to his game. I've yet to go. I need to go. But, that poker and golf go so well together because there's so many poker games running at golf clubhouses But I figured it was going to be the other way around. It was going to be the guy playing poker that was attending and say, you know what, I haven't played golf so much, but it's a nice day. I'm going to go do the poker and golf.
There were also some guys doing that who hadn't played golf for some time, or they were beginners in golf or whatever. So, but it's a bit the same kind of segment. It's a bit same kind of people. Those who like to play golf, they are also golf players are generally very competitive, and so are poker players. So they fit well. And then, I think it was I think it's a great combination actually, and it's like a full day. You have to be very focused. It's about skill, not luck, of course, with the poker, and the same in golf.
There's some luck though, like if the wind blows and at the wrong time, or you just get a bad lie somewhere. But it's a skill game like chess and open-faced Chinese. Mm-hmm. Maybe more like open-faced Chinese, because there's still luck in which cards you get, but it's skill in how you place them. So it's probably like that with golf. There's a lot of elements, and the skill portion you can practice, learn how to adjust for the elements, and then something random can happen, but it's still more or less skill game. So
for our golf and poker event, we opted for a team event, so it was like 2 players in a team. It was a scramble in golf, so you hit out both players the first shot, and then the first shot, which was the best, then they continue playing from there.
Okay.
And then in the poker, then you switch after each level, which I think for if you have played other team tournaments in poker, then it goes like this. For some this was also a bit new, but it worked out well. They got some drinks in their breaks, so
there we go.
They had a lot of fun. So.
And I imagine there was some prop betting too. I'm gonna have to get the stories about that later. Hopefully, we have Joel on the podcast at some point. Yeah, but I imagine there was some pretty cool prop bets going on.
Probably. Yeah.
With poker players, golf players, they both like betting on random things.
Exactly. So.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the main event before we talk about some other topics. So the main event to me was very interesting at the end, for sure. I mean, we had our friend Ylva Thorsrud, who advanced to the final table. Unfortunately, she went out in 8th place. But I know she's very active in your community. I'm hoping to have her as well on the podcast. I know she streams for you, so there must have been like a lot of support within the Coolbet organization for her, I imagine. And then you had a very international table altogether. There was a Lithuanian player, unfortunately nobody from Iceland.
There was one from Iceland.
Oh, there was one from Iceland. Okay, one from Iceland, one from Sweden, Finland, and Estonia, obviously, as well. So quite a lot of countries, quite an international group. I don't imagine that you were able to watch much of it with everything going on, but you must have heard about Ylva, and then you must have heard about that 5-hour heads-up marathon, which you don't see every day, but it was just such a pleasure to watch. Did you get to speak with any of the players that were on the final table after the main event and their experiences?
I spoke to quite a few of them. So we mentioned there was one Icelandic guy. This was his first big poker event he ever attended, and then he was, I think, 6th or 7th or something like this. Very, very, very nice experience for him, for sure. I know him a bit from our online, so he's a good player, and he knows what he's doing. But to make it so far in a main event, that was fantastic. From Coolbet point of view, then it was a fantastic final table, because we had at least one player from each of our markets here in Scandinavia. That was great. And then I talked to the winner, of course, Kaido. I don't know him. I didn't know him from before, but Odd Carly, who won the last Coolbet Open, he's a friend of his, and now Odd Carly is working for Coolbet. So I heard a bit about them. You also know the story that Kaido was actually on the winning photo together with Odd Carly 2.5 years ago. So it's pretty crazy that they continue like this, and a double victory for those guys.
Yeah, I heard a funny story last night from Mark Yoa, actually, because he was also in that group of, they were all being staked in a similar group, and Mark was a coach as well, so they were all very close, this group. And he was telling me on day 2. Now, Kaido, I don't think he'll mind me saying, Kaido was, let's just say he was drinking a little bit,
Slightly tipsy, yeah.
all 4 days that he was playing. So, Carly apparently had a stack going into day 2, as did Kaido. Carly lost his stack on day 2, and then rebought and then won. And basically, I heard that basically Kaido, after he lost his, he's like, I'm gonna do an OT, and I think he had to re-enter 3 times and not just once. But he did re-enter on day 2 to get that bullet. And basically just kept reminding people that he was going to be the next OT. So that means you're probably going to have to hire him for Coolbet. You should get to know him, because if he's really going to be the next
OT,
OT,
we will make an offer tomorrow.
Okay, but yeah, you got to scoop him up before somebody else gets him. Then you can have the back-to-back champions. But yeah, it's amazing when 2 friends win it back-to-back, even with this long gap, and the support that they have with each other. You have that in a lot of the localized communities, but it's especially the case in Estonia, when there's one person on the final table, everybody's watching, everybody's rooting on, and obviously more so in the smaller NIC groups. But the whole country was obviously rooting for the trophy to stay home. And now it's back-to-back Estonian winners, so 2 Estonian winners out of the 5. I think the other 3 were all from Finland, if I remember correctly. I know Matthias won one
from Norway as well.
And Norway, yes, Mats
Albertsen, yeah, correct. So.
And so that's very interesting when it's always like friends back to back. And I was joking around also with Ait, saying it's very unusual when you're at attendance in an event that you're not actually playing the main event. And he's like, Jason, it's different circumstances. Even back then, he wasn't even playing a lot of tournaments. He's a cash game player, as you know. Obviously cash game players can adapt pretty well to tournaments, especially, they've all played a few. So I'm not surprised, a skilled player like him won, or a skilled player like Kaido won, but I was joking around with him about not defending his title. But he was so busy with everything going on at the Coolbet Open. It made sense not to invest that amount of time.
It was also interesting that he did a lot of re-entries. The same was with Matthias Silander when he won some years ago. Then there was this Mats Albertsen. He actually won a package from Coolbet. He didn't do any re-entries and still managed to win. So it's interesting that our tournament you can also win it without doing a lot of re-entries, but it has also happened that.
And he took second or third, if I remember correctly, in the one that Matthias won as well. And Matthias, I think, took second or third in the one that Mats won. So I know that we're all on the podium. I just don't remember the exact spots. But that was also like an interesting dynamic that you have hundreds of players, and it's like you look at the final 3 and the same 2 people are there. It just shows that sometimes the skill, the players rise to the top. And, there is some kind of there's pros and cons, as you know, to unlimited reentry tournaments. So obviously, you do have an advantage to the win if you know that you could reenter, every time, on a day 1. But then Mats, as you said, just 1 bullet, and without those reentries, his prize would have been a lot less, because then you don't have the reentries contributing to the prize pool. So you can look at that both ways. But yeah, it's always been skilled players, really good players, winning the main event, which is nice to see. I mean, it's nice also to see somebody get lucky, but you like to see one of the best players win the event.
True.
And so I want to talk now about the planning of the Coolbet Open, because we had now about a 2.5-year gap between events. I remember at the end of November 2019, we already had dates for the May 2020 Coolbet Open. And then around March, everything hit the fan. And I think a few weeks later, you had to postpone that event. And then you just kept, you weren't necessarily putting new dates all the time, but you had to just keep having dates obviously planned and maybe announced, sometimes not announced. But that whole planning structure must have been such a nightmare from the point in time when the pandemic began until the point in time when you were absolutely 100% sure that the Coolbet Open was going to run.
Yeah, that's true. That was quite, I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but it's quite a challenge, I would more say. So when we had to cancel the May 2020 events, then we of course there was some gap the rest of 2020 where we didn't really know would anything happen, and then I guess we quickly found out that okay, this will not work in the autumn 2020, so we didn't plan anything there, and then we tried to settle for something in 2021. But in 2021 we could see very quickly when the year started that they really wanted to go to live events again. So then we decided, okay, let's try and run some satellites for Coolbet Open, and then we say, okay, it's going to be November 2021, and yeah, I've never seen such big interest for online satellites to live events. It was crazy. We had so many package winners. It was insane, and we had we had satellite winners to fill up the Hilton here. We booked, I think, 70 rooms at the Swiss hotel, just 5 minutes walk from here, and there was a really big interest in the whole thing, and then we had to cancel 2 weeks before the November event, which was a bit of a nightmare. I remember I was just about to go I had to go to Denmark to visit my family, and then I see this news about that now they're going to introduce new restrictions in Estonia, which would mean that casinos had to close at 11 o'clock. And this was just a nightmare situation for us, because people are not coming to Tallinn to go to bed at 11. It would make it impossible for us to run side events and all this. So we had to cancel with short notice. When you cancel so many hotel rooms with short notice, you cannot get the whole thing refunded. So it was very expensive for us regarding hotels. People had bought flights already. We've refunded the package winners and for their flights as well. There were just so many things that we had to pay for, but
and then all the time that you guys spent, that comes at a cost as well, both mentally, financially, and physically.
That was the least of it, in my opinion. But it was very, very tough to cancel with so short notice. And but this we were not the only ones who were annoyed with COVID and all the consequences of it. So this was the price we had to pay for it. I would say COVID was, for Coolbet, it was actually an okay time, because then people are generally playing more online, which is of course what we benefit from. We had very busy times with online poker, so it was okay. Of course, it could have been timed better with Coolbet Open, but otherwise the COVID period was pretty okay for us. So I don't want to. I'm not crying about it or anything like this. It has been good. So.
And I guess it makes this event that much more bittersweet. So, like, looking back now, this event is probably going to stick out in your mind just because it was the first event back from the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. It was. It was basically middle of March that we could see that, okay, we will actually be able to have this event. Like, still there were some restrictions here in Estonia that we knew that had to be removed before we could do anything.
Mostly the curfew times, I assume, because players got used to wearing masks and all that, even though we're not wearing them now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were also the planning period has of course been very long, but at the same time it's not before March that we could finally settle it. Like, say, okay, now we're going to do it. We had the plan to do it, but the organization of the tournament, we couldn't go totally through with it until we were secure that COVID would be not a threat to cancel it. So it was 2 months work basically here to set it all up. So.
Good. And everything went fantastic. And I noticed some new decor. That's the one thing that I absolutely love about the Coolbet Open is, I mean, I fell in love with the Cool Bear. You already know that I was hoping to be the Cool Bear this time, but maybe there'll be another time. But it's not just the Cool Bear. It's like all the attention to detail with the branding, but more importantly, the theme. You know, like this theme was basically a flight theme, like an airline flight theme. There were some photos of Cool Bear and some interesting spots, and the area for the winners' photos was done up nicely too. So I assume that you have a team that thinks up these ideas, or was it put up to like a vote within the company? Like how did these theme ideas come about, and is there going to be a different theme for the next one?
Yeah, I got a very creative team of colleagues who are helping me with this. This travel theme was actually, we wanted to do it also in November because we thought, okay, now you could travel, but eventually it turned out that you couldn't really. We want to have a different theme for the events. For us, to arrange a poker festival like this, it's not about earning money on it. It's actually a big cost for us. It's more about the branding of Coolbet, to do something for our partners that makes them like the event. Although they don't win any money in the events, then they should still feel they're part of something cool, something a bit different. So we spend a lot of time on the branding. We spend a lot of time on giving extra value for the players, I think that's maybe a bit unique about our event, that we really take good care of, or we put a lot of attention to the branding and make it into an event which is a bit different from other poker events. I don't know. You can maybe.
Yeah, no. It's also one of the reasons why you see so many of the same players coming back and back, along with new players being cycled in. Is it provides more of a recreational feel on top of that. And I know as a player, I'd rather, I'm not a professional player. I have in the past played in spurts professionally, but in general, I'm not a professional player. I'm just consider myself a fun rec player. And as a fun recreational player that wants to make money, sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I'm not coming to the poker festival with the overall expectation of winning 65,000 euros. That would be nice. That's always the goal. But as long as I have fun, that is my goal. I want to come to a poker festival where I see it's being designed for players to have fun. Where if I need to go and ask where's the best sushi in Tallinn, that I'm doing that, that there's 100 people that are going to give me their recommendations, things like that. And that's what this kind of branding and the effort made by the Coolbet staff, where you had literally dozens of Coolbet employees here taking care of the players' every need. So you had like localized people from Norway, localized people from Iceland, and that all adds to the experience, and it goes maybe unnoticed by the average person that doesn't know what it goes into to actually create that environment. But in terms of somebody from the industry, they see all that and like, why isn't everybody doing that? It's providing such a nice experience for the players. And then when they come back next time, they feel like they have a little bit of a family here. It's like a poker family of sorts. And the event does facilitate that, whether the theme is travel or the theme is something completely different. That's that's up to the creative minds. But the idea of all of this together is what really makes the Coolbet Open special, not just the numbers that come from the main event, because players are having fun, and that's, I think, your goal. And as a player, that's my goal when I'm picking out places to travel to.
Yeah, that's also what I hear from the players, that they really appreciate this, what we're doing for them here, and we are very personal in our approach. We like to meet our customers, our players. It's not just about online or anything like this. People can easily reach out to us, and we are very open and transparent.
Good. And I want to talk a little bit about your online product, and then I will let you go. I know it's the last day of the festival, and you probably have other places to go, but this is quite important because Coolbet's not available in all markets, but it's available in some markets in Europe, some markets even in North America, as in Canada, and then in South America, I believe Peru and Chile are the two countries. So it's quite of a nice mix. Actually, there was even a qualifier that came from Chile, and randomly somebody, Yuri Ishida, came from Japan who didn't qualify, but players actually have maybe heard about the travel theme in advance. But back to the online element, it seems like Coolbet is very adaptable, like having, you're part of the iPoker network, but yet, let's say you have a streamer like Ilva, she's able to create her own private cash games and tournaments for her streamers. And then on, let's say, a more global perspective, what you did with the satellites, making them more inclusive, understanding most people are probably going to choose the Coolbet Open because why the hell not? But that they have the possibility to go to other events as well. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about the passport concept, what currently, besides Coolbet Open, which hopefully if you win your first package, that's what you choose to do, what players can actually win when they're playing the weekly satellites.
Yeah, our Coolbet passport setup is it was something we thought out a bit here in the beginning of the year, that we knew that there would be a lot of players who would be interested in coming to live events. But to offer satellites for one certain festival, just for Coolbet Open, for example, in our experience, this is fine. But then there will always be some players who say, "Oh, I cannot come in May. I just found out my grandmother has birthday or something like this," and then they have to cancel a couple of weeks before. So then with this Coolbet passport, we give them the flexibility that they can choose which event they want to go for. So let's say if this player cannot go to Coolbet Open because of his grandmother has birthday, then it's fine. Then the player can move it to another event, because anyway we are very flexible with our customers, so we would anyways give them this flexibility. But now we are just making it official.
Is it a select group of things they can choose from, or is it saying I want to go to this event in this country at this time? Can I transfer to that?
Yeah, there's some certain events that we are offering. Right now we don't have much. We have the festival that's coming up soon. I think many players
also in
Thailand to go for that one. Swedish players can go also to the Swedish Championships in Bratislava. But we also plan to offer for some other poker events in Europe. Now I've been super busy with Coolbet Open, so then that has taken most of my time. So I haven't been able to make any deals with other poker festivals. But there will be both in Malta, I think, and here in Tallinn and some other places.
Yeah, Malta as well. That's good.
Yeah. So we think this is maybe a bit the way forward with these live qualifiers, because people need flexibility at the moment. After COVID, they are maybe a bit hesitant some are maybe a bit hesitant to travel. Some,
Can they use that as an online package, or that it doesn't?
It's only for live.
Live. Okay, so don't play it unless you're ready to play live. And keep in mind, if you do play it, there's going to be a bunch of events for you to choose from. So that's pretty cool. And if you are an operator, a tour operator that isn't sponsored by a poker tour, and just get in touch with Thomas, have the conversation. It could be a win-win for both parties. And exactly. If not, you at least got to meet each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
So that's all good stuff, and I'm looking forward to the next Coolbet Open already. I know this one just ended, but I absolutely love these. They go by so fast, though. That's my only complaint, Thomas, is I just got here, and now it's time to go.
Exactly.
Maybe that's because I'm having so much fun with my work, and then even after work, also, I also like to talk to the players, so I spend a few hours when I'm done working just hanging around and seeing who's around to either meet for the first time or to catch up with. But the time just flew by, but the next one won't be too far away. I imagine you'll take a little bit of time off and already then start the planning that, I guess, fairly soon. So keep your eyes peeled for dates. Typically, it's sometime in October, November time, but Thomas will share dates on social media, on the Coolbet Open social media as soon as they're ready, and also, of course, on the coolbetopen.com website. And thank you very much for joining us, Thomas. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I know you had to be a little bit tired, so I appreciate it even more. And see you very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I used to work at Pokerlistings, so it's great to finally be on the podcast here. So
we should have taled about that, but we have to save something for next time, Thomas.
Exactly. So
we'll have to exchange war stories at some point.
Yeah, let's do that.